So Caroline and I are both members of the Eco Group at St Andrew's, Salt Lane Church, which is an Anglican Methodist LEP. We joined the Eco Congregation Scheme, as it was then known, in 2012. We were encouraged to join by our then vicar, Nick Jarrett. The Eco Church Scheme is run by an international network of Christian environmental organisations called Arosha. Arosha was founded in Portugal in 1983 and opened their UK branch, Arosha UK, in the year 2000. That's when they started their Eco Congregation Scheme, which was renamed Eco Church about 3 years ago. It's really easy to sign up for the scheme on the ecochurch.org website. You just need to follow the instructions and register your church. Once registered, there's an online survey to complete. It's broken down into 5 areas: worship and teaching, land, buildings, global and local communities, and lifestyle. And then there's a box checklist of actions for each area. The higher the score you get for each area, the nearer you get towards getting a bronze, silver, and finally gold award. But of course, it's not just about the awards. Each action that's completed is demonstrating our care for God's creation, and it shows how we're working to reduce our impact on the climate. Completing the questionnaire doesn't need to be the responsibility of just one person. It probably shouldn't be. Several people can have individual logins and update the questionnaire individually. At St Andrew's, Salt Lane Church, each member of the Eco Group has responsibility for one area, which they've become pretty much expert in. We've recently decided that we're going to have a look at each other's areas as well, just to get a bit of a fresh perspective on it. There's no limit to how often each area and each question can be updated to work towards increasing your score. So what sort of thing is covered by the survey? Some of the questions relate to actions which get a better score the more often that you do them. So for example, under worship and teaching, the first question asks how often special Sundays relating to God's earth are held in the church. And one of the questions in lifestyle asks if our members are encouraged to undertake a personal carbon footprint audit. And we're able to answer at least once a year for both of these, which is the highest frequency listed and gets us top marks for those questions. Other questions have simple yes/no responses. Some examples of these, and they are just random examples that I picked out of the survey this morning. I'm not implying that we've answered yes to all of these questions. Some examples are, we've measured our energy use and calculated the carbon footprint of our church premises. Cycle racks are available on our church premises. We use environmentally friendly cleaning products. We grow fruit and vegetables on our land. Our church maintains an area of land for native wildflowers. The reduction of car use is encouraged in our church. Our church operates a communal Christmas card scheme among the congregation. Our church actively promotes Eco Church to other churches. I think we can say we definitely answered a yes to that one after today. There's also resources in each area of the survey that help you to learn more about that topic and how we can work towards improving your score. We found that some sections are relatively easy to get good scores on and others are really difficult. And obviously that will vary from church to church. For example, an old rural church will have very difficult challenges compared to a brand new building in a built-up urban area.
Looking at worship and teaching, for which we score gold, our last Climate Sunday service was in February, and the next will be our Harvest Festival. We base our liturgy for such services on the Arosha Communion for an Eco Church. Our house groups worked through Ruth Valerio's book, Saying Yes to Life, for Lent last year. We have held small local conferences and even Arosha's Eco Church North conference in 2017. On the other hand, we have no teenagers in our congregation, so we cannot score points for working with a youth group on caring for God's earth. For land, our other gold standard section, we're lucky enough to have a large garden around the church, which we have spent a lot of time discussing without doing much. We considered a forest garden, a quiet garden, and a wildlife garden. But in the last few years, we have got started and we're implementing a plan which prioritises wildlife with some food production. As Claire has mentioned, we've designated areas that are only mown twice a year to encourage both wild plants and animals. We've planted local varieties of apple and pear trees bought from Sheffield Fruit Trees, a social enterprise tree nursery in the Lightwood Valley, and also grown beans and potatoes for our own use. The garden is well used by local people as a space to sit, picnic, or bring young children to play, even during lockdowns. Our biggest challenge, as it may be for you, is our buildings, where we may have just scraped into silver, but we score close to bronze. We have done some simple things like switching to renewable electricity supply, adjusting our boiler settings, replacing light bulbs with LEDs, using recycled paper, printing on both sides and then recycling it again. But capital projects such as wall insulation and double glazing are not straightforward and very expensive. We investigated both solar panels and air source heat pumps, but could not fund them, and the latter did not seem suitable. However, we have decided to look again as technology is constantly improving, and we received a legacy that might cover some of the initial outlay. The global and local engagement overlaps with both worship and teaching and the lifestyle section. We score silver for this and lifestyle. When we first embarked on our eco-church journey, we worked with Emmanuel Church Waterthorpe on some events. Each year we hold a community event in May or June during Sheffield Environment Weeks, using their publicity mechanisms. These events have included going green at Crystal Peaks with information stalls, a panel presentation and discussion on climate change, whose responsibility, which led to a series of carbon conversations led by Nick Nutchins to consider our lifestyles and personal impacts. We held a drop-in session one year on my carbon footprint, at which laptops were available for people to access websites and look at their own carbon footprint. In 2019, we produced a display about greener holidays, which we also used again at another local church. And this year we held a toilet twinning event. We also gave a presentation to our interfaith group about eco-church, which is a real area of common interest between faiths. The Arosha scheme also now includes Eco-Synagogue and Eco-Seek awards. Obviously, during COVID, shared meals went by the wayside, but our soup and puddings lunches are mostly vegetarian and usually include homegrown fruit and veg. For the lifestyle section, we have a green box in the weekly notice sheet that offers energy saving tips, provides up-to-date information on climate change and campaigns, and shares individual achievements. But we could be more active on our carbon footprints and measuring our progress. For our last Eco Communion service, one of our committee carried out a survey of the congregation and found the majority know we are an eco church and have some ideas about what is involved, both personally and as a church. We hope we now consider our stewardship of God's creation more in all areas of our church life. The first 3 points are more or less essential. You won't get far if there's no support from church leadership. Whereas activities to launch your local eco-church can depend on your own interests. Are your congregation keen gardeners, or do they prefer fundraising for infrastructure, such as a new heating system? If you enjoy shared meals, you could try a vegetarian or vegan one, COVID guidance permitting. Thank you.